The London system is something you're going to be facing countless times playing as black. A lot of players are appealed by the simplicity of this London system, as white just puts out the same setup regardless of what their opponent is doing, and they put up this pyramid of pawns in the middle of the board that they use as a shield to secure their position. And it's extremely difficult for black to come up with any active counterplay. And for white, once again, the big advantage is simplicity. They just play this setup no matter what, and that's the only thing they gotta know without really learning any other variations. Plus, since white players will be playing their London system over and over again, they'll usually have more experience in these type of positions compared to their opponent, which makes it easier for them to play middle game positions that arise from the London system because they know them better and they have larger experience. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you interesting attacking patterns and plans for white in the London system, so that, first of all, if you're playing this position as black, and you will know what to stay away from and what are the pitfalls and attacking plans that your opponents will try against you. And secondly, after watching this video, maybe you'll even consider playing it as white, as you'll see that it's not just a boring opening, but it has a lot of interesting attacking patterns. So white starts off with a queen's pawn move, pawn to d4, and as black responds with pawn to d5 or anything else, white usually develops their dark squared bishop in front of their pawn chain, so that after they play pawn to e3 on the next move, the bishop is not locked behind the pawn chain as it was on its original square, but it's in front of the pawn chain and it controls this open diagonal, and therefore it is active. And black usually plays some move. After that, we go knight to f3, and here black usually goes bishop to d6. We'll talk about other options just as well, but let's start from the most popular one. They're trying to neutralize this active bishop, and they offer an exchange. Now, in most cases, people either trade on d6 or play back to g3 just to defend this bishop. There is another option which is actually quite interesting. It is playing knight to e5. And this way you keep the tension and you kind of lock black's position, as this knight on e5 dominates over the position, and it's quite an annoying piece for black. It creates a lot of different tactical opportunities down the road. Also, in this case, if black goes pawn to c5, which is a very standard move in any queen's gambit positions, strangely enough it turns out to be wrong. As in this case, instead of just playing pawn to c3, the standard London system move which most players play, you can take advantage of the weakness of this diagonal and play bishop to b5. Since pawns can't go back, it can't go to c6 anymore and cover the king that way. Therefore, this check actually becomes quite a problem for black. In majority of the cases, they play bishop to d7, and that is already a completely losing error, even though black's position was already unpleasant because of this attack to their king. Now, after bishop takes to d7, you simply take it, and what's bad for black is they cannot recapture because they're going to lose this bishop on d6. It's hanging, it's undefended. So in this line, knight takes bishop d6, you're just up a piece. You've got 3 minor pieces versus 2. That's clearly winning for white. If we take it back, what else can black do? If instead of taking the knight, they decide to take your bishop, you've got all kinds of discover checks here that you can make use of. For example, you can play a fancy knight takes f6, which is a discover check and a double check that forces black to move the king, and after that you can pick up this bishop. Once again, you're a piece up. You can pick up this pawn to be also a pawn up in addition to being a piece up, and black is completely destroyed. Now we know that playing c5 when their king is still centralized is dangerous, because you can take advantage of that by going bishop b5 and attacking it right away. What if your opponent is more careful and he castles first? After that, let's say you go bishop d3 and he plays his standard move pawn to c5 right now. In this case, in all kinds of London positions, it is recommended that you play pawn to c3. If not, he can play c4 and push your bishop away. And you do want to overprotect your center, so that's your setup anyway. Plus, in this case, if black ever goes pawn to c4, that never troubles you, because you simply drop your bishop back to this handy square on c2, and the bishop is left on this active diagonal, and it's ready to join your attack in the future. What if in this position black decides to go knight to d7, another very standard move for the queen's gambit? The problem with knight to c6 is that after that, if they have the knight over here, you're putting some pressure here, and possibly you can double their pawns, and also they can't ever go b6 to develop their light square bishop, because this knight is hanging in this case. And for that reason, sometimes they're going to develop their knight to d7. Looks perfectly fine, and it's just a very standard move, but there is another tactical shot which is worth knowing for white. It is knight takes f7. I've told you that having this knight on e5 enables a number of tactical shots for you, and that's one of them. So knight takes f7 is actually a discovered attack. From f7 it hits the queen, but also it's a discovered attack of their bishop. Therefore, after they take it, you take this bishop on d6, and now you won a pawn, plus you have a very superior position generally speaking. This bishop on d6 is very strong, and you have basically a winning game. Okay, let's see how you can attack if black tries out some other setup. First of all, after they go knight f6, there is one little nuance. You may notice that white plays pawn e3 instead of playing knight f3 right away. It may not seem like a big difference, but it does make some difference. If you go knight f3 first, sometimes your opponents will bring their bishop out, aiming for this pino over your knight, and that little bit shakes your structure. That's why it's often advisable for white to play pawn e3 first, leaving this knight on g1. In those positions, very rarely your opponents go bishop g4, as you don't have any knight on f3, so there is no pin, and it doesn't seem to make that much sense. So it's a little nuance, but it's useful to know it. So just play e3 first, and as your opponent goes e6 and locks his light square bishop, then you're free to develop your knight, as bishop g4 is no longer available. This pawn blocks it, so they can't get their bishop out, and so now knight f3 is completely safe. Alright, in the previous variation we analyzed the move bishop d6, offering an exchange of bishops, and then we talked about an idea of knight to e5, keeping the position complex and creating different tactical opportunities for you. What if instead of bishop d6 he goes bishop e7? That's another perfectly fine and standard move, and in this case, generally speaking, you just continue your London setup. So you go bishop d3, let's say he goes c5, as we already know, we counter that by c3, say the castle, we go knight to d2, and black needs to develop his queenside pieces somehow. For example, he goes b6, preparing to fianchetto. In this case, there is another tactical, and not really tactical, but more of an attacking pattern that is worth knowing. Sometimes it makes sense for white to leave the king in the center for a little while, waiting, because sometimes, you can actually push this pawn forward and attack that way. There is also another tactical motif. It starts with the move knight to e5, which is, as we know, a very standard idea for white to make the first advancement to black's territory, and which marks the beginning of white's attack. And after knight e5, and let's say he develops, there is a queen lift to the king side. Very unusual maneuver, which is something black certainly does not expect. They expected you to just castle and develop, but with this unexpected queen lift, like go something and you go queen to h3, all of a sudden you take aim at this pawn on h7, creating quite strong threats, as you may easily imagine. If you just drive away this knight from f6, trade it off, queen takes h7 would be just a checkmate. And it's really annoying. Of course, black may try to defend their position somehow, but every way possible has some drawbacks. Like if they play pawn h6, in many variations you can even sack the bishop right here, open up their king completely, and this queen pressure, the bishop is eyeing this square, the knight is still strong, so very often it's very uncomfortable for black, and you can checkmate black quickly. So this is probably not the right solution for black. If they try pawn to g6, that creates these dark squares weaknesses around his king. You can make use of that by going bishop h6, hitting this rook. If the rook moves away, there is another interesting pattern. You can overprotect this knight on e5 by going pawn f4. You can see that you just locked black's position completely. You keep pressing, and black can barely move at all, while you can easily develop your attack. Finally, sometimes black tries to simplify the position by trading off pieces. It's a very common idea for them. So they try to take over here, and as you recapture and attack this knight, it needs to be careful, because if it moves away, you're going to checkmate him. Therefore, they hope for the move knight e4, and they rely on this move as a way to trade off pieces, and they hope that it's going to secure their position. But you don't take here, you just play f3. And all of a sudden that wins the game for you, because you attack the knight, and if it goes away anywhere, you don't even have to take it. It's just queen takes h7 checkmate. Let's go back to the classical position of the London setup, and let's see how you can develop your attack from there. By the way, if you're new to the London system, I'd recommend that you check out my video, which is a crash course about the London system, where I break down all the basics, all the basic plans, setups, ideas, and that's going to be really helpful. So after watching this video, you may wish to check out that one. I'll drop the link below in the description. Alright, so as we already know, instead of just castling, which is something that most players do, you can go knight e5, and that gives you more attacking opportunities. Now, this knight on e5 is annoying, it puts pressure here. For example, black can't even play b6, because that simply hands the knight on c6. What if they take it? Well, then you recapture with a pawn, and that drives away this knight from f6, which is nice for you, because this knight is the main defender of their castling. Also notice that your queen controls these squares, and therefore his knight cannot go there. Also, because you attack the e4 square twice with your bishop and knight, his knight cannot land there just as well, it will be captured. Therefore, it is forced to go back, which is nice for you. And in this case, you can make use of the fact that he hasn't castled yet, and you can play h4, and all of a sudden you make use of your rook from the h-file, and you start this attack on the king side right away. It makes sense because, again, the king is now lacking defenders. Due to the absence of this knight on f6, there is nobody really that defends the king, and so you can try to rush into that attack. So after h4, you can push this pawn forward. Also, this diagonal is very useful for you because you can always, jump with your queen out and start creating checkmating threats. Also, there is another hidden idea behind this move pawn h4. If black is careless and plays some irrelevant move, tries to develop or whatever, plays pawn to c4, all of a sudden you can transition into the Greek gift sacrifice, which is also something completely shocking at this position. You just sack the bishop over here, king takes, then you follow up with queen to h5, check to the king, it has to go, and now you play knight to f3, aiming for the knight to go there to g5. And we see how useful it is for us to have this pawn on h4, which provides additional support for this square. And your plan is plain simple, knight g5 followed by queen h7 checkmate. Although your plan is simple, it's definitely not easy for black to stop it, as you're going to execute it after virtually any move of black. Even if they play pawn f6, trying to mechanically control this square, you just ignore it and you go there anyway. The point is, queen h7 is a threat, and if they take it, you recapture with the h-pawn, which enables your rook to take part into this attack along the h-file. And you're threatened to go queen h7, h8, or maybe play g6 first, lock the king there so that it can't run away, and after that finish it off with queen to h7 or h8. That is your plan. Again, very simple, but very hard for black to stop. If, let's say, they try rook takes f4, sometimes they do this, trying to just eliminate your attack in pieces. Strangely enough, this is checkmate in 3 moves. You start off with queen h8 check, king f7 is forced, now pawn to g6, you keep chasing the king, and after that, queen goes back to h5, and that is a checkmate. So that just goes to show how quickly you can start these devastating attacks seemingly out of nowhere. One of the questions people often ask me is, Igor, I love the London system, but whenever I try to set it up, my opponent just brings his bishop out, and my system is ruined, I don't know what to do, and I lose. What do you do in this case? Well, what I recommend, which is a common theme across all these variations, as you may have noticed, is we strike where it's hurt. We don't just mechanically put out our moves. We try to find weaknesses, drawbacks in his position and make use of them. If the bishop comes out to f5 early in the game, instead of putting out your London system, you can actually switch plan a little bit, and you can go back to kind of a more classical Queen's Gambit, pawn to c4. And your idea is, if your opponent plays like normal moves, in the future, you're going to play queen b3 and put this pressure to this pawn on b7, which is no longer defended due to the absence of that bishop. Plus, from there, from queen b3, you also put pressure to d5, and it's actually quite annoying for black to handle that. Another question you may have is, what if at this point, let's go back a few moves, after pawn d5, what if I go c4, what if he just takes it? Especially beginner level players, they really love it. They see the pawn and they take it because they think, hey, why not? If they take it, you play pawn e3, trying to get it back, while developing your bishop. Sometimes your opponents will think, hey, I can very easily defend this pawn b5, and hey, I'm a pawn up. It's very good for you if they try that, if they think so, because then you play queen f3 and you win the game. It's a very sudden tactical pattern, and it is quite rare for you to develop your queen to f3, as normally you develop your knight there, right? So your opponents do not expect that, and strangely enough, queen f3 hits the rook. If they move the pawn, you play bishop to b8, which is a discovered attack of this bishop on f5. Plus, you're threatening queen takes c6 check, and black collapses. Perhaps they have to take the bishop, and now after this exchange, you are piece up and you win the game. Another common counter-attacking idea of black, which you're going to face if you try out the London system, is sometimes your opponents will try to play c5 quickly and bring their queen out to b6 and hit your pawn on b2. And if you don't know how to handle that, that is often confusing. But what I recommend is the same approach. You hit where it hurts, you find the weakness in his position and you make use of it, instead of just mechanically putting out your system. Once they play their pawn to c5, the drawback is they clearly weakened this diagonal. And you can make use of that by going knight to c3 f3. And this move just wins games on amateur levels, because your opponents usually completely miss the point. They think that you just develop a knight, and after they play something, whether it is queen to b6 or knight to c6 or almost any other move, let's say knight to c6, all of a sudden you go knight to b5. It turns out that was the point, not just to develop a knight. And now knight to c7 is a real threat, forking the king and the rook, and there is no normal defense for black against it. Your bishop supports this square. So that was the whole point. They'll usually end up playing e5, even though it's a bad move that loses a pawn, but there is nothing else they can do anyway. Now you grab the pawn happily, attack the knight, and as the knight goes away, that's not the end of black's devastation, because here there is yet another tactical shot. Queen takes d5. Really cool, really beautiful. Sometimes your opponents will just resign, being overwhelmed by your tactical masterpiece. It's not even a queen sack, because after queen takes, you then bring out this royal fork to the king, queen, and rook, forcing the king to move, and then you get your queen back. So along the way, you want 2 extra pawns, plus his king is vulnerable. As you castle queenside in the future, you're gonna attack it, and black is completely smashed away. Finally, there is one last thing that you definitely gotta know if you're gonna play pawn d4 as white. A lot of your opponents will play the King's Indian defense, which is one of the most popular openings of black. They're gonna fianchetto their kingside bishop. What do you do in this case? In this case, the classical London system doesn't work that well, because your opponent is actually going to play pawn to d6, not pawn to d5. And with this pawn on d6, it controls this square, so you can never jump with your knight forward to e5. And although it is playable for white, I mean, it's much harder to develop your attack here. That's why I recommend that, once again, instead of mechanically putting out the system, you notice the drawbacks of black's plan and you make use of them. If we know that black is going to play pawn to d6 in this King's Indian setup, instead of pawn d5, you can actually grab the center. And what you can do is to play knight c3, and after they go bishop g7, and that's what King's Indian players play, you then go pawn e4, you make use of the fact that they don't have this pawn on d5 that would prevent you from playing e4, now you grab the center and you completely dominate. And once again, you kind of fooled your opponent by using the weakness of his plan. Now e5 is a threat, pushing this knight away. They'll usually play their move pawn to d6, and from here there are 2 approaches depending on how tricky you want to be. Now if you want to play solidly, I'd recommend a classical plan where you play queen d2 and you reach the position with opposite side castlings, which is actually very good for you. Thanks to your strong center, you dominate, and your plan is super simple. Just push this h-pawn forward, you play bishop h6 to eliminate the only defender of the king, and you try to checkmate him along the h-file. It's very simple but very effective, and that's how you handle strong players. And there is also another variation which is slightly tricky, but it works really well, especially in blitz. Instead of playing stolid chess, queen d2, castle, then developing your attack, you can rush into the attack straight away. You just play pawn e5, chasing away this knight. And in most cases, your opponents won't know how to react. The most played move by black is pawn takes e5, which is nice because you recapture and you renew the same threat, plus you now put pressure to his queen, which would force his king to move. If they don't want that, they'll have to take on d1, which is nice because it helps you to develop your rook. Now you control an open file, plus their knight is still attacked. And if the knight goes somewhere, whether it be h5 or g4, and at this point your opponent is usually pretty happy, they think that they attack your bishop, and if it goes away, they're going to pick up this pawn on e5, and they think that, life's good. But you surprise them with the move knight to d5. And it's actually a very unpleasant move for black to face, because from here you threaten knight takes c7, and after that it's check to the king, and it's going to win the rook in the corner of the board. And what can black do? There is no way to defend this pawn. I mean, they can't go knight a6 because you're going to take it. Funnily enough, in most cases they just take on f4. They hope for you to recapture, but of course you're going to move the knight in another direction. Knight takes c7, check to the king. Notice that your rook controls the open file, so the king has to move. And now you don't even need to win the rook, because you can go rook d8, and strangely enough you put together this nice little checkmate. Alright, now let me address the elephant in the room. You may be thinking, Igor, what if someone really watched your video, memorized all these attacking patterns and plays this against me? What do I do then? Just resign and run away, quit chess? Of course not. What I recommend in this case is you just go for the move pawn to e5. This is a very unknown opening variation, because after pawn takes e5, you're going to play pawn d6, and you play in the gambit style. You're willing to give up one little pawn for the sake of quick development and attack. And they also play the London system. They usually hope for a calm life. for them to put up their setup and feel good. But instead, you turn the things around and you create the position where you start attacking them massively right from the first moves, which is a huge upset for them. If you want to know the details about this opening, I've got another video which you can check out later. I'll provide the link in the description below. Also, if you want to brush up your positional understanding overall, I've got a free masterclass that goes in details of that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.